And we should be live very soon, if not right now. Let's see. I'm looking at XSplit. Let me go back to YouTube. Oh. Do you see us? Are we there?
Yeah.
Right
it's
on.
Delayed.
Oh, how much? Okay, we'll figure this out, guys. Just give us 2 seconds. So how delayed is it?
Like very.
Shoot. I'm going to type, hi guys, 1 second, because I'm actually not exactly sure what's going on. Okay, we'll figure this out. Figure this out. All right.
I'm regretting my bored faces.
You're wrong. No. So what I think you might have to do is you might have to not look at the stream. You might have to minimize the stream. I'm serious. What you can do in YouTube, Amber, is if you go to the ... above the chat box, you can pop out the chat, so that way you can read the chat, but you don't have to look at or listen to the stream. Sorry, that might have been confusing because she's hearing me from 2 different places. Give it just a moment. Oh no! Did I just lose her? Okay, technical difficulties. Just a few minutes, guys. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Did you get my message?
Just give me a second.
Yeah, mute that stream.
Yes. Yep. Okay, I think I'm good.
So I'm going to start the stream up. You look good. You're in the right place. And just look at the camera like you're looking at me. And we'll just have a phone conversation. You can read the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I am back. Amber from Amber from Big City Bettas is back. I'm bringing her face up. There she is. Can somebody type and tell us if you're hearing us? And Amber, why don't you say something real fast to make sure they're hearing?
Can you hear me or?
Okay.
Oh, I think there's a delay.
Now, I can hear you perfectly fine. I'll give them a minute to hear what we've been talking about and hopefully tell us if it's happening right. Oh, apparently I'm a bit loud. Maybe I should turn myself down a little bit. Or maybe I should talk quieter.
I'm not sure I even have audio.
I hear you.
Let me see. No. No. Don't have audio.
Oh, okay.
Why don't I have audio?
Well, I can hear you okay. It's probably better for you not to listen to the live broadcast because of the delay.
Okay.
Cool. So we're just going to talk like we're on the phone. Okay, people say they can hear us. They think your mic needs to be louder, which I'm not really sure how to do that on Skype.
Is that good?
Yeah, if it's not good, guys, just type and say something. Okay, people are saying we are fine. Someone says we can't hear Big City Bettas, but she hasn't been talking very much. So I'm just going to start.
Can you hear me now, or? Sorry.
No, don't. You do your thing. Hi, everybody. This is Simply Betta's channel. I'm Taylor with Simply Betta. And today I have our guest on. Her name is Amber. Her channel is Big City Bettas. And Amber is a I guess she's been breeding Bettis for quite a while now. She just started the YouTube channel recently. And Amber, why don't you tell us a little about yourself?
Okay. Well, like she said, I'm Amber from Big City Bettas. I started breeding really, really young, just for the fun of it. Wasn't really doing it responsibly. Learned through the years a number of things I was doing wrong. I've been keeping Bettas for about 20 years, breeding for about 17. Got out of it for a little while, and I'm just rebuilding my fish room and started doing, my little channel and videos because I was contributing a lot in the comments, especially on like creative pet keeping and life with pets, and a number of people said that, perhaps my experiences could help others. So here I am.
Right on. Yeah, Amber's done a lot of commenting in channels, and it's awesome because she will correct you if you're wrong about stuff, and that's a good thing, and I love that about her. I've learned so much from Amber so far. Some people are saying they can't hear you, and that it's very quiet.
My volume as loud as I can, and on my end at least, looking at the video, it's definitely delayed, but I honestly have no idea at this point.
Right, we kind of just have to look at the chat to be able to tell how we sound. I'm not sure if that's something I do on my end. Are there any XSplit users out there? Is the Skype volume something I do on my end? I have no idea. Let me just bring up the Skype real fast. Let's see if I can mess with her volume. Computer, microphone. No, I can mess with my settings. Let's see, is Steve there? Would he know what to do?
Hang on.
Okay.
So I'm not screaming. You go ahead with your thing, and I'm going to try to figure it out.
Quick moment. Bob from Steenfod Aquatics says that you have to turn up the volume on your PC on recording devices. So where it says recording devices in the settings, you're going to have to maybe turn your volume up. Okay, so now you can go figure that out and do your thing, and I'll just talk a little bit. Okay, so I will take Amber off of the stream real fast. How I do that is right. I'm just going to talk to myself. It's really strange being in a live stream. Hi guys, thanks you for everybody who has come to say hello. I appreciate it, and this will be a lot of fun. Today we're going to talk about choosing breeding stock and talking about bettas and what form to look for, what kind of fish to look for when you're looking for like a really nice high quality fish. That's what we're going to be talking about, and Amber is super knowledgeable about everything. Let me check the chat real fast. Okay, hello. Aquarium Cowboy says, hi Simply, stopping in to say hi. Thank you, Aquarium Cowboy, appreciate it. Let's see, is this a question about guppies, coral danios, and neon tetras? Fine to have with a betta in a tank. It depends on the personality of your betta fish. Sometimes you can have really aggressive ones that can't be with anything. Sometimes you can have, bettas with personalities where they can live with other fish and not just constantly try to attack them. I'm just going all the way to the bottom because of the confusion that I've been having. I don't want to get too distracted. Sugar Glider Love, hello, I know it's late where you are. Thanks for tuning in. I think it's pretty fun that you stopped by. Says, would you ever breed koi plakat bettas? I love kois. Oh, Amber's trying to call me back, so I'm going to accept the call real fast. And put her back on. Alright, Amber, are you there?
I'm here. Did that fix it? Am I...
Now I don't have your video now. Now your video's not here, so I'm going to hang up. I'm going to try video calling you. Okay, I'm trying to video call Amber. And to answer my question to Sugar Glider Love, I actually have some kois that I'm going to try to breed and see if I can continue that koi pattern. Okay, oh, now we see you. Now I see you, Big City Bettas. Let me Try to get you back up. All right. Full.
Oh, the joys of live streaming.
I know, all the joys of live streaming. Okay, Steenfod Aquatics just sent a super chat for $5. Oh my goodness!
Bob.
First super chat ever. I don't even know what to do about it. I don't even know where to go to see that kind of thing. That is cool. Thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. I think it's pretty fun that you stopped by. I'm trying to get Amber back up. She's live. She's on my computer. She looks great. But when it comes to having her actually show up on the stream, it's not currently showing up. So let me just redo the window. I'm going to remove her. I'm going to add her again. If anyone here has used XSplit, they probably know all this cool stuff. Okay, here we go. Skype video. And we have her back. So I just had to redo her window. And let me position her right here. Oops. Oh yeah.
Can
So
anyone comment on what the volume is? Do I need to work on that or?
right. So Amber, talk for a little bit, and people can listen to you and tell us how the audio is.
Oh no, the video's delayed again. They're gonna be ridiculous faces. All right.
Well, you're not frozen on my end.
That's good. Am I delayed? Because.
No, it's a little bit laggy.
Okay.
But it's no big deal. I'm just kind of maneuvering our images around. Get the chat box back up. So talk a little bit.
Alright, am I volume-wise good, or?
You sound good to me.
I sound good to you? Anyone in the chat, can you volume still low? Oh, okay.
Oh, still low. Get this chat back up. Cool. How about you just try talking louder?
Just try talking louder?
Yeah, project yourself. I don't know.
So do you want me to just yell, or?
I'm not really sure. We're just gonna have to wait for people to tell us how we sound, or how you sound.
I could try to just, like, drunkard it and yell talk the whole time.
Yeah, why not? That'd make for an interesting video about Bettas.
Actually, I think I'm gonna get... Come here.
Okay.
I'm gonna get my boyfriend to try to...
Sure. Okay, cool.
My tech department.
Alright. Okay, so I'm going to read some of the messages in chat while we're trying to figure this out.
Yeah, I'm sorry about this one.
It is totally fine. It's just part of the process, troubleshooting and learning how to set everything up right.
You're so upbeat.
I can't help it. I'm disgustingly upbeat. It's sickening. It's sickening.
No, it's good right now because I don't have to feel like a jerk.
Okay. Jesus says, "Hi, Simply Bet. I really love your videos. Hope I can be in one of your videos. I'm starting my own YouTube channel." You totally should start your own YouTube channel. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's become a hobby that I really enjoy. Okay, Steenfod says, XSplit might be muting Skype.
Is this good? Am I any louder?
Is she any louder, guys? Okay, Sue Lee says we can hear her, so that is good. XSplit shouldn't be muting Skype. I have a special plugin which is supposed to work with Skype calls, and it'd be counterproductive to have a plugin where you couldn't hear Skype calls. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? What the heck?
I'm getting mixed comments on whether it's louder. Is this good? Can someone comment, Bob, is it louder?
Bob!
No, Jenny, why is it still the same?
Okay. Maybe. Really can't hear her.
I understand the first 10 minutes of most of, like, Glorious Betta's live stream.
This is why. This is why. Okay, I'm going into my settings in my live stream software, and I'm going to see if I can try to find audio settings.
You can't apply it, though. I mean, if this is the loudest I can do, it's...
Okay, I'm sure she'll be right back. She's probably fiddling with her settings. I'll just read some chat. I'll read some chat. Rob Hicks Aquarium says, hi there. Hello, Rob Hicks Aquariums. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. Okay, some people saying they can't really hear her. Gus Riviera, hello from Mexico City. Hi. We currently have one male betta and 5 females living together with a pleco, snail, and 6 neons. Well, that's pretty cool. I think it's neat. Sometimes you can do that. It depends on the temperament of your fish. And, you know, if it's working out, why mess with it? What are your thoughts on betta sororities, says Sammy's World. I think betta sororities can be done, but they can also go very wrong if the personalities of your fish are not prone to being in a sorority. It's a lot easier to do a sorority when you have a group of females that have been raised together since they were fry, but that's hard to find. It's hard to get. Okay, Suli, if you can't hear them, turn up your speakers. Maybe? Let's see, can't hear, put volume higher through Amber's speaker. I'm trying to figure that out. I'm trying to figure that one out, guys. This is my first time live streaming. It's my first time using live streaming software. So there's a little bit of troubleshooting going on. Like, I had to look around at the beginning of the stream to find the button, like, how do I start the live stream? I had no idea. And Big City Bettis is calling me back. Let's answer her.
Okay, so I got my boyfriend's headphones. Does this work now?
Ooh, okay. We're trying a headset, guys. We're trying a headset, and this should work. One moment, I have to redo your window on XSplit. Okay, remove that. Sources. Skype video. There we go. So Amber, I think you should do another introduction, and then people can tell us how the audio is.
Okay. Just go for it?
Go for it.
Alright, well, like I said, I'm Amber from Big City Bettas. I've been breeding for about 17 years, keeping for about 20. I got into the hobby really young, and when I first started, I was doing it completely irresponsibly. I had no clue what I was doing. I realistically killed so many fish, which is why now I'm a big advocate for breeding responsibly, because I feel so guilty now knowing what I did wrong. So my whole thing is breeding responsibly, and yeah, I got out of the hobby for a little while, got back into it, and a number of really awesome fish keeping YouTubers encouraged me to start a channel and share some of my experiences with other people, and here I am.
I think that's great too. You know, I started YouTube as well because I enjoyed the fish fam so much. I had to squeeze in. I had to become a part of it because it looked like so much fun, and it was. I'm having a blast. Cool. So I have a bunch of people asking questions. Sorry if I've had to kind of not read the chat for a little bit, guys. We've been dealing with some technical difficulties, and it's a little distracting. Jim says, sounds getting better, still a bit quiet. People are telling Jenny Lee that they hope Gatsby is all right, which I don't think Gatsby is okay, which is sad. Hatchie's Pet, still quiet. Can you turn her volume up in the program? Oh, okay, I'm going to check this out again. I'll check this out one more time. Let's see. 2 seconds, guys. I think it's really sweet for all of you who are sticking around while we figure this out. Options. Tools. Like, I'm seeing if this is something that I do. Where's Jimmy when you need him? Yeah, exactly. Where's Jimmy when you need him? That's right, Lauren. Where's Jimmy when you need him? Whoops, we just lost her again. It's okay, she's probably trying to fiddle around with things and check them out. Oh my gosh. Okay, thanks for that. Where's Jimmy when you need him? I'm checking out my plugins. Sources, screen capture, widgets, video. You see, in XSplit, I can check out my devices. I can fiddle with my audio devices.
Are we good?
Okay, she's back.
Okay, this is the last time I cut out. Did that fix the volume? We tweaked a couple things. It should be better now. There's literally nothing else I can change.
Yeah, and even if you're quiet, maybe we should just go with it. What do you think? And I'll try to talk a little softer to match. Okay, let's see. I will full screen you again. There, now you're up. You're back. You're up on my screen.
Oh, someone said it sounds better.
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
that gives me hope. And
thank you guys for being so patient.
Yes. Absolutely. Thanks for being so patient.
I probably would have left.
Steenfa, XSplit might not be able to encode audio from multiple sources. That's true, but I got a special plugin from the XSplit company that they made to make this happen. Whoops, I just lost your video. Are you there, Amber?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, no.
Oh, for the love of God, no. Yep, Skype is completely...
Shoot. Do you want to try calling me back one more time?
Why don't you try calling me back, and if that doesn't work, then I don't know. We'll just...
We could have an audio. Yeah, we could have an audio phone call if this doesn't work. Whoops, I hung up on her as she was talking. Moved a little too fast. Here I go. Okay, I'm calling Amber. This should be the last time. This should be the last time. And we're back, and I see your video.
Okay, I'm not touching anything.
Nope. I'm not doing anything now. I'm not going to touch anything else. We're just going to go with it, even if...
Yep.
And I lost your video.
Like I said, I'm the faceless person.
Shoot! And you are faceless right now. I just lost your video.
Oh no.
But I think maybe we should just go with it and have an audio conversation.
All right, let's do that. Let's just go with it.
Okay. So from now on, guys, Amber from Big City Bettas is going to be audio. Sorry about that. That wasn't meant to happen. I know it's not as fun, but I'm going to have to figure this out in my second live stream. Yeah, Lauren, we're just going to roll with it. Shoot. And you're back. You know, maybe you're just going to come back and forth. I'm going to ignore it for now because I'm not touching anything. So welcome back to the picture. Big City Bettas introduced herself. She has been a Betta breeder for like 17 years or 20 years, which is fantastic. Yeah, Cripwa, first time is always rough. Okay, the topic for today. Amber, why don't you introduce kind of what we're going to be talking about?
Okay, can you hear me? Shoot. No, I don't have audio.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear. Oh, sorry.
Are we good?
I can hear you. Everyone in chat should be able to hear you. So why don't you introduce our topic for today?
Okay, so this was kind of my idea. Taylor and I have been talking since I started my channel. And the one subject we both have been really nervous to touch on is spawning. Because, at least I speak for myself in this, I feel a number of people go into it really unprepared. They wonder, you know, what are the basics? How do I set up the spawn tank? What live foods? Those aren't the basics. It starts with the fish. It starts with what you're selecting to breed and what you're combining and what that's going to get you. And I think that's something that's really misunderstood nowadays with a lot of newer breeders. They don't necessarily know what they're breeding and what that might produce and what, you know, detrimental issues that might cause down the line for their offspring. So I thought it might be fun for the two of us to sit down and talk about, you know, how to pick a good breeding male or female, what to look for, what to avoid, certain mutations that just really shouldn't be worked with, and how to pick pairs, and then go from there.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic, and I agree. There's not a lot of information out there on what is ideal? Like, what's the ideal fish that you should be starting with? What are the ideal traits you should be starting with and striving for and focusing on, while also focusing on your goals of your line that you're creating, hopefully?
Absolutely. I think one of the main things a lot of people really make the mistake of saying is, I don't want to produce show quality fish. I just want to breed the fish I have and see what happens. Well, you need to remember, in addition to, having to sell the babies or give them away, they need to be of a quality or something that people want them. If you have a bunch of heavily mutated fish that realistically aren't that good looking, it's going to be very hard to find them homes. And when you can have 50 to 300 fry in a spawn, that's the first thing you need to think of. Secondly, you need to think of, how are you affecting Bettis Splendens as a whole by producing really bad quality or mutated fish and spreading them. They might be going to homes where they're getting bred. I mean, we've discussed, we see it with rosetailing. That's everywhere nowadays, and that's pretty detrimental mutation for the most part. So
now, a lot of people don't know that rosetails and feathertails aren't ideal. They aren't ideal for the well-being of the fish and for the strength of Bettis Splendens as a whole, for the strengths of their fins. It can be a very detrimental thing if you're not careful with it.
Absolutely. I think in rosetails in particular, to touch on that, I think the main thing people don't understand is what it is. In Betta's fins, they have two main parts. They have the rays, which are the bony structures, and then they have the webbing, which is what holds them together. Now, you have webbing reduction in crown tails and crown tail picots and things of that nature, but in general, all Bettis Splendens pretty much have webbing and rays. And in rosetails, what it is it's actually a branching of the ray further down, closer to the body, which makes the ray much weaker and causes it so in like a half moon or a super delta fish with long, very heavy fins, they can actually get so long and heavy later in life that they snap the rays themselves. It can cause blown fins, which is a weakness in the webbing that causes them to tear. And also, people need to keep in mind that with mutations like that, like when elephant ears were first coming out, and even you see that nowadays in some, and as well as double tails, a lot of mutations affect more than just, like rosetailing affects the fins, but it's not just the fins. When they first produced rosetails, and I think it was the 90s, they noticed that they were weaker. They were smaller bodied, they struggled to spawn, and they had a lot of health issues. This happens with mutations. It's something that isn't necessarily meant to exist in the fish, but a lot of times people see the mutation, get very excited by it, and decide they want to work with it, not knowing what they're producing. And I think that's what's happened with the rosetail, and feathertailing is just a more extreme version of that, where it's much closer to the body.
Right.
And it's you also see stunted fins, like a lot of rosetails that are very heavily mutated. The caudal will be really small compared to the rest of the fins.
Right, I've seen that too. And for anybody who maybe doesn't know what rays are on the fish itself, the spines, the spines that are in the tail that are giving it its form, those are called the rays. And when the rays branch, it means one ray will split into two rays, and that will create a fish with a wider, fuller tail, basically. And then those rays can split again. They can split from 2 rays into 4 rays. And that's what rays are. And the webbing is the really thin tissue in between the tails. Did I explain that well?
Absolutely. And I think it's worth adding that the rays themselves are actually bone segments encasing nerves and blood vessels. So it's not as though it's just like a piece of cartilage or like our fingernails. It's an actual part of the fish. It is a bone. They can regrow them, but it's not the same. It doesn't look the same, and
right.
Frankly, I mean, it's like producing something that it's so weak it goes around breaking bones all the time. It seems irresponsible to me, knowing all the issues.
Yes, when a fish can just break its rays from flaring, something might be a little bit wrong with what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I'll admit, when I first got back into the hobby, I hadn't worked with rosetails, and I was so heck bent on, because I've worked with double tails that weren't stable. I've produced healthy lines of elephant ears from a pretty unstable, pretty early on developed fish. I thought I could work with rosetails. So I got one, and I very quickly learned that it just affects so much more than their fins. There's so much more to be worked with on these fish, and I have gone from the mindset of, I can do this, it's, this isn't going to be that difficult, I've worked with mutations before, to saying this is something very different. This is something it's going to take a lot of very experienced people a very long time to stabilize and fix the issues with this mutation. And that's sad because it's so popular.
Yes, it is very popular. If you go into a Petco or a PetSmart, you can see rosetail bettas for sale for like $29. Is it $29? Something like, really crazy for a fish that
I've
isn't.
Seen them here for like 45 or 50.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Now,
in New York City, I've seen them for 45 or 50 for this just horribly mutated fish.
Wow. Now, some people think that, rosetail has a bigger tail. It's bigger. It has to be better, guys. But that's really not the case. They can become so big that it weighs the fish down, and the fish will start biting at its tail because it can't swim. It's stuck on the ground. Yeah.
He gave himself a buzz cut, and it's the most painful thing to look at.
Oh, but he can swim now, right?
He can, but I'm worried about fin rot. There's just it's one of those things where I'm almost angry at the seller. Because when I purchased him, in addition to being a rosetail, his fins had been trimmed. So I thought he was a workable rosetail. I thought his fins aren't that heavy, they aren't that creepy. And what trimmed fins mean is where they literally will take the fins of the fish, and a razor blade usually, and they will just cut off the excess to make it a perfect half moon or a perfect whatever they want it to be.
And they didn't tell you were buying a fish with trimmed fins. Ooh, that's rough.
And it's a fairly popular eBay breeder who I see a number of people buying from, and I've seen a few fish from this breeder that had some pretty serious issues. And
wow. Well,
anyone who's willing to sell a feathertail, I don't trust as a breeder. And I know it sounds horrible, and I'm probably going to get some hate for it, but that is such an extreme version of a bad mutation that if you're willing to sell that to someone, I don't even know.
I have one feathertail male. He was a freebie, like a little gift from a seller, and I will tell you, I never ever want to deal with feathertails. The poor guy can hardly swim at all.
And I think the main thing people forget with bettas is there's the basic 4 fundamental things animals need to do. They need to be able to feed or forage. They need to be able to fight. They need to be able to fornicate and flee.
Oh, the 4 Fs.
Yep. And you see these bettas nowadays that, and when I say flee, I mean, when you see a placat in a spawn tank, they are zooming, they are just darting. You see a half moon and with the heavy fins, and they're almost kind of dragging, like slow dragging. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And at what point does it stop? At what point are we breeding something that's more decor than it is a viable animal?
Yeah, at what point does it lose its virility, right? Yeah. And right, a quick question from chat from 321. They've recently gotten into breeding. What advice do you guys have for a first-time / new betta breeder? Thanks. That's from Cutesy Fruits. I don't know if I said that. I would say watching this video is going to be a great first start in learning what kind of fish to start with. And I'm
excellent marketing skills.
Right? I should be a marketer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think another good piece of advice, just really quick, would be don't jump into it. Because so many people get excited and they get one spawn that goes well, and 3 weeks later they spawn again. And then they spawn again, and then a few months down the line, they have 4 or 5 spawns, several hundred fish, and they have no idea what to do with them because they jumped in so hard, so fast, and it's a lot of work.
Maybe so. Right, and oh wait, I have
water change.
Yeah, I have 300 baby fish. Do I need live foods to feed them? Like that kind of thing. Like, don't jump in. Really do your research and make sure you're ready to handle it.
Sometimes it actually blows my mind how very little research people do, because it's like, for me, just getting a pet, I want to do the research I can because it's a living thing. I want to know how to care for it. Breeding, you're not only getting a living thing, but you're getting it to make more living things, and lots of them. So.
Right, and you have to learn husbandry, really. Yeah, Carl Mello says... Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Carl Mello says, can you sell Bettas to Petco or PetSmart? That would be a no. Petco and PetSmart have contracts with huge Indonesian and Thai farms where they mass produce fish and ship them over for really low prices. So there's no way a breeder could possibly sell to a big chain store like that. And I'm just, as we talk, I'll try to get in little questions here and there from people. Like Skylar.
I'd like to touch on one question I'm seeing from Gus Riviera, I believe. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. The question is, does it matter if they aren't the same Betta type, veil-tail male and crown-tail female? Can they mate? They can, but you want to keep in mind that some tail types, mixing them, you will have fish coming out of it that are more heavily mutated than you're expecting. Like, if you mix anything with ray faults in with a crown-tail, you're probably going to get some very crooked crown tails. If you mix in something that, like a double tail to a double tail without exactly knowing what you're mixing in, you could have a lot of spinal issues. There's some arguments that you shouldn't mix double tail to double tail because of the doubling of the body. That makes
Right, but
spinal issues, things like that.
All Bettas.
You can theoretically mix all tail types together, but it's also a good idea to look into it a little bit, look at some fish forums, and even just ask people, you know, what do you think I'm going to get? Because like I touched on in the beginning, it's really frustrating when you have a whole bunch of fish that nobody wants.
Right. Oh, Jenny Lee just dropped a super chat for $10. Oh my gosh, Jenny, sorry I have to go. Love the stream. Make sure to like the video. Have a wonderful night. Thank you, Jenny. You were my first moderator I made. Appreciate it. Everybody, Jenny Lee's channel is fun and she's super cute and she has all kinds of fish and you should go over there and check her out. And thank you so much, Jenny. We appreciate it. How nice. Bree, I think, has asked a few times, any advice for koi bettas, like what they should look like?
Avoid blue.
Yeah, if it's a pattern, if you're talking about what they should look like pattern-wise, it's considered a koi betta if there's no blue or iridescence.
And also,
in it.
I think one thing that people mistake nowadays with kois is there are marbles that are red marbles with some black men that people are calling kois. That's not a koi. A koi is typically black, red, or yellow with specific pattern. Go like steps down the top of the fish that actually.
Okay, your audio started to break up a little. I'm not sure why.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was just for me, if it was for everyone. But she basically said that not any marble is a koi. Kois are like a special kind of marble with a koi pattern that we're trying to mimic a koi fish. Is that right, Amber?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
That sounds better. Now I can hear you again.
Okay. Yay.
Cool. And you were there. You were just a little bit choppy.
I see someone in the comment saying this is maybe not a breeding question, but can you share an opinion on the almond leaves, like what you've noticed they do? I personally have noticed that tapping leaves in the water will help promote spawning behavior. They do have some antimicrobial properties as well as antibacterial, so they can keep a lot of nasty stuff from happening in your tank, and they can help heal various types of fungal and other body rot issues. Personally, that's what I've noticed. How about you, Taylor?
That's what I've heard. I use oak leaves. I use oak leaves because Joop Van Esch from Betta territory uses oak leaves, and he says...
Oh, I love you.
Yeah, I love Joop too. He's so nice. And he says they have really similar properties, and it's easier to find in the U.S. So that's what I've been using, is oak leaves.
I'm in New York City, so I don't trust anything that comes from the outside.
Yeah, outside's scary.
Yeah, my leaves come from eBay where it's safe and nobody peed on it.
Right. At eBay, I get a lot of goodies off of eBay, and I hope they're safe. Summer Nick says, what made you start breeding bettas? I'd like to know that, Amber. Oh. Can you hear me? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, cool. Here, let me repeat that. What made you start breeding bettas?
Do you want to go first, or?
Oh, okay, cool. I love bettas. I love tropical fish. I think they're beautiful. I think they have beautiful personalities, and I think the husbandry is really cool, and I can get really nerdy about the genetics. Amber's turn.
Right, well, for me, as I said, I started breeding very young, and in the beginning, it was just wanting to see what would happen. But then I got hooked, and the more I learned, the more I wanted to do better, and the more things I applied that worked, seeing how my fish grew up healthier, just got me very excited. And for me, I just love bettas. I mean, they're like grumpy-faced little dragonfish that are just wearing a butterfly as a cape. I don't know.
And they're jerks, and I love it.
Personalities.
Yeah.
Oh, they have great personalities. I've always had very good luck with the really large male placots just being derpy sweethearts with females to spawn tank. I have a male who will actually try to school with his female.
Oh, how nice.
Like, he'll follow her around the tank, and it's actually very cute because he will want to actually school with her, like, even after spawning. He tries to chill out with his females.
What a good boy.
Yeah.
Cutesy Fruit says, where do you buy almond leaves? You can get them from Aquarium Co-op store. You can get them from eBay. There's a lot of different places you can get Indian almond leaves. I feel like I've gotten a little bit distracted with chat and questions and have kind of gone away from what we were supposed to be talking about. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So,
it's very easy to do.
Yes. So, for everyone who's just coming in, we want to talk about what to look for in a fish when you want to either get a nice high quality fish, or you want to maybe start breeding. And let's see, where do we start? We started talking about rosetails and feathertails and why that's something you want to avoid. And now, yes, absolutely, you should probably want to avoid rosetails and feathertails for all the reasons we just mentioned.
I think there are some things, why don't we go with what you should look for? That's a good place.
Let's go with what we should look for in a fish. You're going to go buy a fish. What to look for? What's the first thing you look for?
Well, the first thing I personally look for is good, straight, strong bodies, and I like to see a nice top line. I don't want to see, a shrimpy fish with a really shallow back. I've found that as they grow up, the nicer the top line is on the fish, the more it'll fill in. I don't want to see a tail at a young age that's longer than the body, because remember, the body is going to grow up until, some people say they never stop growing bettas. I personally have noticed they, body-wise, stop about 8, 9, sometimes 10 months. At a younger age, you want that body to be sizable compared to the fins, because the fins will continue growing well into a year, and then especially like a half moon or a super delta, those fins can easily get larger than the body and overwhelm it, and you want to see a nice balance.
Yeah, you want a strong body to help support big fins. Strong body to support the big fins, definitely. And I've gotten, Skylar is,
Raise?
Oh yes, straight raise, absolutely.
You want to look at the sloping of the fish's head. It shouldn't almost scope in or like go in a line. That's spoon head or things of that nature. You also want to look at the distance between the eye and the mouth, in my opinion, in younger fish. You don't want it to look absolutely scrunched in. That later on tends to be kind of a really funky looking fish.
Right. I'm going to try to bring up some reference images so people can see what we're talking about a little bit. So let's see if this works. I'm going to add, whoops, that's huge. Okay, I'm going to add this window. It's just covering my face. And in it, I'm going to put some images, I think, of what we're talking about. And are you looking at chat right now, Amber? Can you see it muted?
I can see the chat.
Okay. Oh, sorry, I meant the live stream. Can you see the live stream? So we're talking about fish with strong bodies. And I wanted to bring up an example of a fish with a beautiful, strong body.
Is it an old school half moon?
Nope, this one right here is a half moon plakat. It's one of Youp's fish from Betta territory. What we're talking, very beautiful. What we're talking about with this strong, beautiful bodies with this very nice curved top line, almost like a bullet. Sometimes it's referred to as looking like a bullet. And look at how beautiful this fish looks, strong body. And now I'm going to bring up a fish who has a pretty weak-looking body. A very weak-looking body.
Also, one thing to note on that fish is look at the saturation of color. None of the scales are lacking color, and they are very symmetrical. You want the scales to run evenly in lines down the body.
Right, so you see the even scales, beautiful shape, and now I'm going to put a picture up of a fish that doesn't look all that great. It's just a random Google image of a betta, and if you look at him, he has a very straight-looking, weak body. He doesn't have that nice bullet shape. He's basically just an oval. Do you see that, Amber?
No, he's incredibly gorgeous. Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Okay, there's a bit of a delay. Now look at this fish. You can see the difference. I'm going to toggle it back and forth between the strong bullet body.
That's a flat top.
Yeah, this is a horrible, horrible fish just from somewhere random on Google. So there's an example of that. I'll bring up another fish with just a beautiful... I'll bring up a female this time. Let me see if I can grab a female with a really nice form.
I also want to thank Bob for crowd control right now on the audio level.
Oh, thank you. Bob says...
Hey, people to calm down.
Oh.
As good as it's gonna get.
Thank you, Bob. Bob gets it. He live streams all the time, and Bob says, "Hey, that's my betta." When it comes to that one, a little horrible. It is not. Don't be silly, Bob. You're so silly. This is a female. Okay, I just brought it up. Now, a female with a very nice, strong body shape, nice top line, shaped like a bullet. Just beautiful. Beautiful fish.
And she also has a nice long body. You don't want a fish with a super squatty, short, kind of fat little body. It should look like a goldfish.
Goldfish. Oh my, that'd be horrible. There are some bettas out there that kind of look like goldfish. Have you seen them? The weird short mutation. Ugh.
I don't like it. It's not natural, and it doesn't have its full spine.
It creeps me out.
I'm convinced it's missing vertebrae. I don't know about that for sure, but there's no way it can.
Probably. And now I'm going to bring up an image of a really nice half moon. I think this half moon is really nice. I wanted to show an example of straight rays, a fish with a strong body that's supporting its tail. Its tail is fully flared, and you can see this is an over half moon. But look at the straight rays. It looks very strong.
Ooh. And also
what do you think?
Notice the nice spread on the tail. That is a good 180 half moon spread.
Absolutely.
That's what you're looking for. It should almost look like a D shape when you're looking at a nice half moon. It should be a D, straight line of the caudal against the body, and then curving out like a perfect D. Right,
and the curve of the D should be very smooth. As smooth as it can get. It's okay. You should totally line up with the dorsal, and that's why it's called a half moon, right? Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. That is why it's called a half moon. Super deltas look very similar, but their tail is not a D. It's actually overlapping. If you look, it goes past that point. And this is what makes this a really nice half moon is the anal in particular, I think. Because I think in half moons it is far too easy to find an elongated anal, which throws off the entire balance of the fish.
Right, absolutely.
Oh, look at that.
Look at this one. This is what we mean by the full half moon. It looks like a circle or an oval if you trace the outline of the fish's fins.
And look at the top line on that one too. It has this incredible bulk to it that just tells you it can hold up those fins.
Right, and that nice smooth top line is just beautiful. And the rays, The rays are straight and they look strong.
Even the ventrals on that look really nice, which is hard to find.
Isn't it gorgeous? I'm pretty sure that's an image of a show winner from a few years ago from like the Croatian Betta show. I hoarded the image, and I just put up an image.
It kind of, it kind of looks like one of Karen McCulley's fish. It's so nice.
Karen McCulley's fish? I'm not familiar with her fish. Am I crazy? Am I? Oh, I just put it up.
Incredible.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go check them out. Oops. Yes, this is a younger half moon, but looking at
she was Jackie from Moon River Betta's mentor. She breeds. If you're looking for like nice old school half moon, she has gorgeous.
Really?
Still.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna have to look her up. I haven't been familiar with her.
Yeah.
But this fish is obviously a younger fish by looking at the small caudal. But again, you can see the nice top line, straight rays, strong fish. This is a great fish to start with.
But that's what you want to see in a younger fish. You
Yes.
want that restricted caudal. You don't want it to already be showy and large because it's going to keep growing and just overwhelm that fish.
Right.
So in my spawns at least, the ones that initially when I first jar them are already showy and drapey. Within a few months, they're very quickly just too much so, and it's not what you want.
Right, absolutely. Because
by the way, I just want to say I keep glancing to the right because I'm working out of a very small fish room. So my living room.
Oh, there it is.
My fish room.
Right on.
So, as I'm talking about my fish, I'm kind of
looking over at your fish.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. I think we should talk about the top line now. The top line of the fish and maybe spoonheads.
Yeah.
Where it's a little, would you say too strong? It's very fighter fish type, spoonhead. What do you think about that?
It just doesn't look natural to me. It doesn't look natural and...
Looks like a bulldog.
Yeah.
I'll bring up...
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me... You know those dogs, like the target dog, the bull terrier with like the weird face? It reminds me of that, and those actually didn't used to look like that at all. They looked perfectly normal, and then they were bred to look like that. So
Jeez.
that's what it kind of reminds me of.
I just brought up a picture of, let's see, a really severe spoonhead. Like, this is really severe. You don't see this much, this severity, but this is an example of where the curve of the back is just, it's too strong, and you get this little, whoop, this funky little curved nose right here. This is a spoonhead.
And now that one thing to note also is there are some fish with what's called a fighter's bump, which is the kind of jutting lip, like a shorter fin placat often. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let me see if I can find a picture.
There's a difference in the two. One, not everyone loves the fighter face. I kind of do because I feel like it's a throwback. But that is one thing to note is they can look similar.
What do you think about this one? Do you see that?
No, it's still...
Oh, okay. It's just catching up with you. I put another image up of another fish with a pretty severe, what I would consider severe, and I probably wouldn't work with this fish in my personal preference. Cool. I just thought that'd be something interesting to talk about. So you don't...
Fins are odd, too.
It's interesting. It looks like a little snowflake.
Yeah.
Okay, and I also have some pictures of, we were mentioning to avoid rosetails and feathertails, and I can show the difference between a half moon and a rosetail, and I can show it so people can actually see what we're talking about. I should have done that earlier, but I kind of spaced that I had these images. So I'm going to put an image of a white half moon. And if you look at this half moon, he has nice straight rays. His tail fin is shaped like a D. It's nice and smooth. And now, one moment, let me find a picture. I'll find a fish that looks pretty similar, except for it's obviously a rosetail. There we go. Or would that even be considered feathertail? I can't really tell. So toggling between these two fish, you can really tell the difference between the wavy, weakened rays on the rosetail fish, or feathertail fish, I can't really tell.
I would say feathertail.
Feathertail.
Sorry, it hasn't come up yet.
That's okay.
I would say feathertail because of how deep the scoops are in between rays. Notice how it's like severely, almost like lacy on the ends?
Right, I do.
I would call that a feathertail. A lot of people might try to market it as a rosetail, but I'd argue that's a feathertail because if you look too, the branching goes over halfway down towards the body.
Right. And when you go to Petco or PetSmart, this fish would be jacked up $10 and this fish would be cheaper because this fish is better, right? Its tail's bigger, it's pretty.
Well, it's kind of like people and the, so to speak, paradise betta, which I don't think anyone actually knows what a paradise betta is because it's not a real thing. Petco created it back when Finding Nemo came out to try and convince people instead of buying a blue tang or a clownfish, they were saying, oh, buy a paradise fish to put in your Finding Nemo tank. And it was literally just a fancy betta.
Really?
Like,
I hadn't heard of that. Oh my gosh.
Some people will talk about having paradise bettas. Some people think they're
Paradise
like
bettas.
really crappy mustard gas when in fact they're just something Petco made up.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that one. Kind of like the King Betta, right? King Betta is also a Petco invention, which is just it's a big Betta. That's all.
King Bettas are just really big, not showy placottes from what I've seen.
Yeah, I agree. And let me see. What other images do I have which could be educational? How about, I have another image of bad form. This is a double tail with a top line that is pretty atrocious that I thought I would show. That I wanted to show earlier, but I forgot I had. There we go. You see in this fish how it's bumpy and lumpy. I would never work with this fish. Did that come up for you, Amber?
I'm still waiting.
Okay, I'll leave it up there for you guys to enjoy. This beautiful, beautiful fish.
I don't know where to start. The tail, the ventrals, the dorsal's messed up, the spine, the scooped face, the asymmetrical scaling.
It's fascinating.
Its body's weirdly bloated.
It is a fascinating fish, and I feel very bad for it. Okay, let's bring up another image of a fish.
It looks like it got caught in a filter trailer.
Poor little thing. I know. It was just a Google find. I feel horrible for it.
See, that fish right there is why you need to think about what you're mixing together tail type-wise, because something went wrong there.
Right.
Something.
It's probably too many double tails to double tails, huh?
Most likely that's I don't even know. There are so many faults on that thing.
So this fish that I brought up, this blue veil tail, this was going to be another example of a weak body that just didn't look very strong, very oval, looks kind of like a guppy.
Now picture that body with the fins of that first half moon that you showed with a nice full finnage. It just couldn't hold them up, and that's what you see too often.
Or how about with
half moons with nice fins have these tiny little shrimpy bodies that they don't cut it.
Yes, so what everyone should be taking home from that little conversation is that to have big fins, you need a big, strong body to properly support those fins. What do you think?
Someone in the comments is asking, are crowntails bad too genetically? I don't think crowntails are bad, but I do think a majority of the crowntails you're going to find to work with need to be worked heavily. You're going to need to breed your lines for straighter rays and really proper form because there's just too many crowntails floating around these days with really messed up rays. That's just my 2 cents.
Rob Hicks Aquarium says, this is now like watching The Walking Dead. What? That's really strange. Little Walking Dead.
Mean.
It is mean. That's not nice. Maybe it's because these fish look so freaky. I just put up a picture of a rosetail betta, which I wanted to show people what can happen when a rosetail gets older. When a rosetail gets older, the fins get too heavy for this fish to deal with. It sinks to the bottom. It has trouble moving around. With a big rosetail or feathertail, this can just be a fish that's a year old. Maybe a little more.
Not even. I
Really?
have one that's seven months old, and he chews his fins off.
Ooh.
They're so heavy. The one I was going to try and work with. he chews his fins off to like a ½ inch long because they are so heavy and drapey.
Oh man.
I feel so bad for him because it's just awful. Here, I'm gonna rip off my tail because it's just too much for me.
Right. But now, if you have a rosetail male, you can breed. You can take that male and put him into your breeding program. What do you think about that? And selectively breeding for stronger fish?
I absolutely think that you can, depending on the severity of the rosetail you're working with. Personally, that's what I feel. If you're working with, like you showed that one white one where his tail's like almost shriveled up.
The feathertail, right?
Yeah, arguably a feathertail. That to me is just, you're gonna have. You have to remember your F0 spawn, which is that first spawn of the line. You're going to have fish that come out so mutated, you're going to have to cull them for that. I feel like if you're going to work with rosetails, you need to be prepared to be responsible about what you're creating. And if the fish isn't going to be able to live a normal, healthy, happy life, you need to cull. Because I don't think it's fair to the fish to create something just to live a miserable life.
Right.
So I think if you're going to work with them, you need to be prepared to cull real heavy, because there are going to be some fish that just fundamentally cannot fish.
Right. Inglorious Betta stopped by. Hi, Jeanne. She says one of the only half moons she had ended up like that, and he ended up trimming his fins so he could actually swim around, which I think is pretty neat. And she also decided to never breed half moons because of that.
I think that's a great idea. Personally, it makes me nervous, though, to trim their fins. I know a lot of people do, and I'm going to have to someday, but I've been fortunate so far.
Right. Oh, and Rob Hicks says it was the fish he was talking about when he mentioned The Walking Dead, so that's good.
Oh, good.
It wasn't us, we're so hideous.
I know I'm pale, but come
on. And Lauren says, is there a way to give them, the fish, the nutrition they need so they don't become weak and their bodies stay strong, or is it all genetic?
Do you want to go first, or?
I would say it's a genetic issue. Like, I would look at it from that point. What do you think?
I would absolutely agree. I would say that to an extent, some things can be worked with nutritionally. There have been a number of people who have theorized, and I've actually begun adding calcium to my homemade gel food, because a number of people throughout the IBC and just on various forums have said that with their crown tails, adding calcium produced stronger rays that were less prone to curling.
How do you add the calcium?
Well, like I said, I do a homemade gel food, so I use various types of powders like powder, Tubaflex. I'll grind up beef heart and like all my frozen foods. I mess of frozen foods, calcium powder, vitamins, and like suspended in gelatin.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm playing around with that. It's anecdotal, but I feel like adding calcium to the diet, it's enough anecdotal evidence to me. Hearing from people that I not only respect, but seeing a few fish that turned out pretty nice on this food, I'm starting to think that calcium in their diet can help with ray strength.
Okay.
Kind of like, well, if you think about it, mystery snails need calcium. All snails, realistically, to an extent, need calcium. Some cats, like Cory cats, because they have the bony plates, a lot of people say calcium is very good for them. So, I don't know. It's just one thought.
Interesting. I've heard Moon River Bettas say that. And Inglorious Bettas just said some hobbyists are trying Celcon, which maybe that's a brand?
I love Celcon. No. What Celcon is it's a marine fatty lipid. So it's just like these really awesome suspended various fatty acids and good for them vitamins. It's for marine fish, but I use it on my guys. And as far as like putting weight on and getting them eggy, it definitely works for that. I don't know about bone density and ray strength, but I do know that it definitely makes them fat.
Yeah. Nice.
I've actually discussed that with Jan.
Nice. Now, Skylar has asked many times since we started, how can you tell if your fish has fin rot? Why don't you take that one real fast?
All right, the edges of the fins are going to typically be a little bit jagged, discolored, and it's going to, for the most part, look like it's rotting. I typically dose my aquarium water with 1 tablespoon of salt every 5 gallons of water. That helps prevent that. I don't really have any issues. Fin rot is usually a water quality issue. So maybe up your
All
water
right.
changes, add some salt.
Yes. Sounds good. It can also become ragged and like black on the edge of the
Yeah.
fin if it's pretty severe.
It can also be white in some fish when it's first starting.
Gwenethere says, is it hard to switch a betta onto pellets that's been on frozen or live food? Oh wait, no, it's the opposite. If you want to get your fish to eat a frozen or live food and it's not going for it, try just making sure he's hungry. Maybe don't feed him for a day or so and then offer and see if he'll eat it. It sounds mean, but it works.
One thing I also do is, it's not only good because health benefits and whatnot, but for this, I dose all my food with garlic extract.
Ooh,
because I
garlic.
found that makes it so they associate that smell with food, and pretty much anything that's been in the garlic extract they're going to eat. But also I noticed she's mentioning trying to get it to eat frozen bloodworms. I have never had a betta that wouldn't eat frozen bloodworms, so...
Nice. I have one weirdo out of all the fish I've ever had who only eats pellets. It's weird. It's so weird. It's the weirdest. Oh, let's see. What else can we talk about looking for a fish? Besides, we've covered avoiding rosetails and feathertails for people who are coming in maybe recently. We've covered top lines and strong bodies.
I would say there are some behavioral things that you would want to avoid. One that I've found being tail biting. Many people say that it's genetic, and I personally have found in my spawns of males with tail biting issues. First of all, let's just cover real quick what tail biting is. Tail biting is basically where when your male becomes stressed, be it seeing another fish, seeing its own reflection, bad water quality, whatever, boredom, start to actually rip and bite off its own fins, usually starting with the caudal, which is the tail. As we discussed earlier, that's kind of an issue.
Right.
It's something you want to look for, and especially when you're breeding, you want to be able to find homes for your fish. And I noticed that the spawns that came from males who had tail biting issues, they were the only fish that I ever had that in a stressful situation they started tail biting.
Interesting.
It's, a number of old-time breeders that I very much respect have also said, never breed a tail biter. It will produce tail biters, which to an extent I've seen. And for me, just that little bit of, okay, I bred this male who has bitten his tail a few times. Everyone got jarred, which is stressful, and now half of them ripped their tails off.
Oh, jeez.
Before. That's enough to make me go, okay, maybe I should avoid this, because you also have to remember, not just for the sake of yourself wanting to not reproduce that and spread that into the lines of bettas to come, but what about the future owner? They're going to buy or get this fish, bring it home, and a few months later, this beautiful fish that they really care about is going to start ripping its own fins off. That's terrifying for especially like a new owner.
I know, it's horrible.
It's so unfair. So one thing to keep in mind when breeding, part of why you need to do it responsibly is because eventually those fish are going to go to people who care about them, and you don't want to be giving them a fish that's going to have health issues or, self.
Right. I think that betta breeders might be more prone to breeding tail biter males, because once that tail biter bites his tail, who's going to buy him? He looks horrible, right? So let's just breed him.
Get them cheaper.
Ah, that's true.
A lot cheaper. Many breeders will sell them with tail damage, but most of the people I know who've been doing it for a long time try to avoid the tail biters, because if you get one spawn from a tail biter where a few of them bite, it's enough to make you go, okay, never again.
Yeah, unless you sell them really fast and make lots of money, right? Yeah. Some people would. I've heard that's why rosetails are so prominent and popping up in a lot of lines everywhere. It's because in Asia, rosetail is used because if you breed a rosetail to a half moon, you can get more offspring with the 180-degree spread, even if it's weaker. So you can sell higher-priced fish to more people, even though they're technically not as strong. What do you think about that?
I agree with that.
Inglorious Betta says she agrees that behavioral things can be inherited. Her females had a penchant for building their own bubble nests and taking care of their own eggs. That is cool.
That is so funny she says that, because I have 2 crown tail females and one who I'm not planning on breeding. She was merely, you know, walking through Petco, and I was just like, I can't leave her. She looks really bad.
Oh.
So I took her home and, you know, got her good and healthy, and 3 weeks ago, she's moving around in her jar, bottom to top, bottom to top. I go over, she has a bubble nest. She's dropping her own eggs and putting them in the nest. And she did that and actually nurtured that nest for 2 days until I was like, no, you're not eating. Yep, I don't know. And then my other female, who's actually been spawned, she will regularly blow bubbles, and I'll see tiny little eggs just hanging out in there. So
I'm a strong, independent Betta. I don't need no man.
Pretty much single moms.
I tried to sound sassy there. I don't know how it turned out.
You did a good job. You did a really good job. I felt like you were channeling Jackie. I love her because she's just so sassy.
Yeah, she's fun to watch. I like Jackie too. Let's see. Lauren says, what about the importance of body length equal to caudal tail length? If we're talking about show standards, I don't really know. I'm not a judge.
I touched on that earlier, but
do you mean balance?
In general, you want to look for a body that is the same length as the tail, like a half moon or a placotte, but in a younger fish, you're going to want that caudal to be smaller than the body, because, as I said earlier, the tail is going to continue growing past when the body stops, and you want it to be balanced. I believe for body, you want at least 1.5 inches. Isn't that correct, Taylor?
I'm trying to remember.
I'm pretty sure it's 1.5
inches. Gian.
She's still here.
Everyone, Inglorious Bettas is an IBC International Betta Congress judge, so she knows all the numbers, and she could probably say something, unless she's very busy grading papers right now, because she's a teacher. Everyone should check out her channel.
And I've always followed the IBC standards for breeding, but for me, showing was just never feasible. Maybe now, but...
Yeah, it's my goal. It's my hobby ultimate goal to win a trophy. Or a plaque. Or a certificate, or whatever they give out.
That would be great. I don't want to get into breeding show Splendens, but I would love to start showing wilds, because I've noticed that in the shows, not enough people bring in wilds, and just, I don't know, I've lately been really fascinated with them. I have an empty, planted 20-gallon in my bedroom that I'm kind of itching to put something in.
I have a fun channel teaser for my subscribers watching for me. I may or may not have gotten a wild pair recently. A very cool, beautiful wild pair. And all I'm doing right now is I'm waiting for my hardscape to come in. I ordered a hardscape custom made for my really huge 56-gallon tank from Rachel O'Leary from her channel. She does custom hardscapes. And so I'm waiting for that to come in. I'm going to cycle my tank, and those suckers are going in, and I'm going to show it off. And I'm pretty excited about my new wilds.
I just have to say, I love Rachel O'Leary.
Absolutely.
Like, one of my greatest dreams in life is to just sit on the floor of her fish room in front of that big chair and have her educate me. It's like a private Rachel show. I would love that.
That'd be so cool. You're pretty close to her. You could probably just stop by. I'm on the other side of the country.
I know. I think she's absolutely brilliant, though. To anyone who's watching and isn't subscribed to her, go subscribe right now, because...
absolutely. She has my dream job. I want to import and breed fish for my job. That'd be so cool. Someday. When I'm all grown up, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Oh, Inglorious. Oh, continue.
Right now, I'm just putting away with my one little shelf. I'm hoping to add a second one, and then we're at maximum capacity.
Do it. Inglorious Bettis got back to us. She says, IBC standards call for 1-to-1 body to caudal length. But then you run into issues like you guys keep saying. Keep up the good info. Okay? That's what the IBC judge says. Everybody listen to her.
Jan knows her stuff.
Yes, Jan knows her stuff, absolutely. I'm surprised she's watching, or she was watching and she mentioned earlier, like, thanks for the great info. I'm like, you already know this stuff. Jeez.
She knows everything. When it comes to Bettas, I'm convinced there's nothing Jan doesn't know, because she's the only person I've ever heard of bringing a fish back from drop seat. And I believe it was pine cone as well. So,
yeah, that blows my mind. I've never had luck with that either.
Nope. she's the master. She beat kidney failure.
Wow. Let's see. Going back to talking about what to look for in a fish when you're first getting a nice high-quality fish or a fish for breeding. I think one thing we haven't touched on is color. Should we talk about maybe looking for color?
Yeah, if you want to start.
Cool. One thing that's a pretty well-known piece of information about color is you're not supposed to mix blue with red. The reason why is because they're two dominant traits. If you mix a blue fish and a red fish, you're going to get blue and red fish. But then when it comes to the offspring, it's very difficult to then separate the colors again. And so it's common knowledge, I guess, that you're not supposed to breed the two. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I totally agree on that. And I, in general, as far as colors go, would say be very careful when working with anything non-red and adding any fish with a touch of red in it, because you have the chance of introducing red wash, which is something that I for years have hated because I don't breed for reds, I breed for blues and yellows.
Right. Oh, man.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. And also, another thing to remember is there are phenotypes and genotypes. Basically, your fish phenotype has one type of genes in it that it shows. You can see them. It is, a yellow half moon. It has other things genetically in it that you might not be able to tell just looking at it. It might carry double tail. It might carry, it might carry red wash. It might carry a number of things that you can't tell just by looking at it. So that's one thing to also keep in mind is you don't always just want to look at the one fish. If you have the option of looking at the spawn as a whole or even other siblings, that is always advisable when looking at color, because you cannot tell what a fish is going to throw based on what it is, or what it's showing rather.
That's a good point. If your dream fish is a beautiful bright blue, the last thing you want to do is to breed it with a fish that has red in it. That's pretty good rule to go by, just if you're starting out. Let's see.
I just need to say, someone in the comments says, I'm eating cheese right now. That's awesome.
With wine. With wine.
Yeah, during our live streams, just in general, any live stream is good with cheese and wine.
Yes.
We
Now,
should actually make that a thing, like just a fish fam hangout with our wine and some cheese.
or like you mentioned at the beginning, just have a totally drunk yelling voice fish live stream.
That would happen.
Just a belligerent fish live stream. Bunch of belligerent fish tubers.
Oh, that would be glorious.
That would be inglorious.
We should just get a whole bunch of people together, like Kasha, Jan, Jackie, just get them all and see what happens.
Oh, man.
It's either going to be dangerous or amazing.
Yeah, now, guys in the chat, if I've missed any questions, because, like I said, this is both of our first live streams, it's been hard to watch the chat and also think about what to say and that kind of thing. So if you have any questions that I missed, feel free to put them up, because I'm sure I missed a whole lot. I'm really sure I did. And if you have any particular questions, I know one person was asking about Popeye. Besides water changes and keeping the water nice and clean, what's the best way to deal with Popeye?
I've only had Popeye once, and it was many, many years ago, and the fish actually came to me with it, and if I remember correctly, I treated it with just basic salt, meth blue, and I want to say Victoria Green. I might be wrong on that. It was years ago. I'd have to check back in my logs, but that is one thing to mention. Keep notebooks. If something goes wrong and you're medicating, write down exactly what you do. Water changes everything, because when you have another fish, if you, God forbid, have another fish that comes down with those same symptoms, you can see what you used to treat it and what worked, what didn't work. Make notes. Always keep a log.
That's good advice. Carl Mello says, is the size of the Betta's bubble nest a sign of anything, like bigger bubble nest better? I don't think so.
It means you have a gourami, or something in the gourami family, like a Betta, but
yeah.
like honey
Yeah. I've had.
It doesn't mean that you have a male. A lot of people say it's a sign of happiness. That's I mean, you can see them in an inch of dirty water in the pet shop with a bubble nest surrounded by other males, so I don't think it means they're happy. I think it means you have a betta.
Yeah, and during, like, with spawning, I've had fish spawn with hardly any bubble nest at all, and they've been just fine.
Yep, I've had them suspend them up in the plants, and I've even had males who just non-stop the entire, 24, 48 hours were swimming to the bottom, spitting eggs, swimming to the bottom, spitting eggs. Just non-stop work. Yeah, you don't have to have a bubble nest. I'll do it without.
Exactly.
It helps.
Let's see, I'm looking at the stream.
I tap put in a fish first aid kit. I think that's a really good one.
That is a good one.
I personally would have aquarium salt, meth blue. I would have some type of stronger antibiotic, like a...
Antibiotic? Salt? Did you say salt? I forget.
Salt, sure.
Right, what else? An antifungal, if you don't have meth blue, any kind of antifungal. Maybe an anti-parasite? General cure?
I would have meth blue on hand in general because I find it works for so many things. Like, you could do anything from treat fin rot to just help a fish that's seeming a little off. Like, I know Moon River Betta a couple times a year will treat all of hers with meth blue just to give them kind of a little boost if they're seeming down.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Artificially hatch eggs with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I use
it in my shipping water to help prevent a number of issues, because when you're shipping a betta, I mean, you do everything you can, but the temperature might drop, and they are so stressed in there.
Mm-hmm. And doesn't it help with ammonia in the water?
Yes, it does.
It helps bind it.
Yes, it does.
Alright, I'm checking out the chat. Let's see. Amanda says, if you breed 2 giant bettas together, will all the babies be giant as well, or some with normal size? When it comes to personal experience, I don't know. I just started having fun with giants recently, but I have heard that if you have 2 giants, they're not going to create all giant offspring. You're going to have some regular sizes. You're going to have some like halfway, like huge fish that aren't officially, when it comes to show standards, giants. Then you might have some giants in there. That's what I've heard.
And also, looking at the chat, I just want to again thank Bob for being here. And
yay, thanks Bob. I love Bob. Bob was one of the first fish tubers I started listening to.
Me too.
It's true.
Love the intros. So nerdy. They're just...
I know, I love the intros too. I need to make a nerdy intro now. I can't wait.
Yeah, the other day he did a Lord of the Rings one, and I got very happy for that.
The Game of Thrones one was pretty cool too.
Oh, Lauren Klinger has said, has anyone noticed that bettas with a metallic sheen have more health problems, fin rot, tumors, etc. than bettas without a sheen? Absolutely, tumors. Metallic tumors. Are so prone to tumors.
Yes, and dragons. Absolutely.
Yes. I think it's something to do with whatever wild type they had to breed in to get that pigmentation. I don't know. I'm sure Jan could touch on it a little better, but I do know that metallics are heavily prone to cancer.
I know, it's weird.
When breeding them, you should really wait until they're about 9 months to make sure, 9 or 10 months even, to make sure that they're not going to develop cancer. I have a 5-month-old female with a big old tumor on her because metallics.
Right, and metallics...
Sorry.
Oh, no, you go. I was going to say that metallics are what was I going to say? They are the result of crosses with wilds to create a really thick, iridescent layer up on the top of the scale. Did I describe that well enough? I'm not even really sure.
I also would like to add that I've noticed they also develop diamond eye much more often than other bettas, which is where the pigmentation will actually overtake the eyes and it renders them blind.
Yeah, it starts to cover up the eye and they get this weird shiny eye. Right.
Like when it's full diamond eye. Oh.
I haven't seen a full one. I've had partials though.
I had a full male who I was young and I wanted to see, and I actually successfully spawned him with Full Diamond Eye. Looking back, it was the most irresponsible thing genetically I could have done.
Well,
But I did. He raised his fry.
Oh, really?
He was
Wow.
my favorite male.
Oh, what a champ.
He lived to be 13.
What? 13 years old? I've
Yeah.
never heard of a fish living that long, or a
It
betta
was
living that long.
Absurd. He was a giant placat.
Oh my
and I loved him
gosh.
so much.
Wow, that's amazing.
He's the betta that made me fall in love with them because he had so much personality and he was just so unique.
What a champ. That's really cool, Amber.
Yeah, kind of like, well, you have that red male that's like a surrogate. That's awesome.
Yeah, Cutesy Fruit says, Simply Betta, how are the adopted babies doing? So in a previous video, I gave a bunch of eggs that came from another pair. I stole them from a male who was eating them with joy, with gusto. He was just gobbling up his eggs. I stole them with a turkey baster, and I snuck them into the tank of a male who had a spawn, and was taking care of his spawn really well. And sure enough, this fish just took all those eggs and was his surrogate daddy and popped them up in his nest, and he was such a good boy, and I named him Daddy. He's Daddy Fish.
When you emailed me that, I honestly pictured you, tiny little you, with just this giant turkey baster, like, sneaking.
Oh yeah, that's what I did. I was so desperate to get fry from this pair, from this giant pair. I was desperate because I tried to spawn them like 2 times, wasn't happening. Finally, I noticed they were spawning when I was doing water changes. So I was just doing my water changes one night, just looking over every 10 seconds, waiting for them to wrap. And then when I saw it was happening, I grabbed the turkey baster and I go steal the eggs. And it worked.
So clever.
It worked, and I have a bunch of giant fry mixed in with the red half-moon fry. Which I'm very happy
Are you
about.
gonna separate those when they start to get older?
Eventually, yeah.
Okay, because
I will.
with mine, I found that even the same spawn, the larger ones will sometimes eat the smaller ones.
I think
So
that's.
I would be concerned.
I think that's already happened to a little extent. So once they're big enough to really tell the difference, I'm gonna separate them a little bit. Okay, I'm looking for any more questions. Oh, Sugar Glider Love, who is up very late right now. Oh my gosh. My tap water pH is 6.5. If I add Indian almond leaves, will it hurt the bettas since the pH is very low? No. pH.
No.
Yeah.
Bettas can go super acidic as far as like
Yes.
low pH. They can take it. In fact, they prefer it. And some wild types actually require like 5
Right.
lower.
Right.
Then you have other ones like, oh, what are some of the other? I'm trying to think. Aren't they like pygmy sunfish that require like an insanely low pH?
I'm not sure.
Licorice gouramis, I think, are another.
Wow.
I might be off, but I'm pretty sure there are some types that like a 4.5.
My tap water here where I live is really hard and alkaline. And so with my new wild pair, they're doing fine in it. But for their brand new tank where I'd like to get them to breed, I'm going to have to crash my pH down so low. I'm going to use sphagnum moss. Just in little...
You considered rainwater.
Not rainwater. I do have an RO unit that I'm going to mix half tap, half RO. I've started doing it to slowly acclimate them. And then just really slowly, I'm going to try really hard to crash the tank down. Slowly and gently for my precious, precious wilds. So that'll be a little adventure.
That sounds exciting.
Yeah. I love that kind of stuff, though. It's an experiment. I love experiments.
How are you not like a biologist? Because you have all of these food experiments. Just talking to you, how are you not in like some kind of scientific field?
I actually did. I went to college to get my bio degree, and then I dropped out when I was very close to graduating so I could go to video game school. And I became a visual effects artist, and I worked in the video game industry. I just decided, you know what? This sucks. I'm gonna go do something fun. And I did. It was fun. It was a lot of work. But I'm taking a little break from it right now because I have a little baby.
Yeah,
But-
I heard her in the background earlier.
Yeah.
when we were testing this.
She's a sweetie pie, and I hope she gets her obsession with biology experiments from me. Totally.
Oh, do you want to try and touch really quickly on how to pick pairs, or?
How to pick pairs? Oh yeah, I think we should touch on balancing, not balancing.
Kind of, yeah.
Is it balancing? I guess it is called balancing. I'll go first.
Yeah.
Cool. Picking pairs. So we've already touched on a lot of different things earlier in the live stream if people are just coming in. Things to look for in a high quality fish. But let's say I have a fish, a male, who's just perfect, but his body is just a little too short. It's kind of short and stubby, and I wish he could just be better. I would pair him with a female who had a body who was just a little too long for my taste. That's what I would do. And the reason is because when you pick a male and female to be a pair, you should try to pick them to balance each other out. You should take the flaws of one fish and the strengths of another fish, and if they would go together, I think I've been streaming too long. I'm losing my words. Basically, I try to even them out using the pair. Now you go. Tell me what you think about that.
I totally agree. When picking a pair, for me personally, I find you want fish that complement each other. If you have because you're never going to have a perfect fish unless you're going to the IBC auctions and just buying the like best in show, and you're never going to have perfect fish. There's going to be a flaw to work with, and it's going to pop up in your line as you're working with it, even if you do have a perfect fish. I think the main thing to keep in mind is, like I said, every fish is going to have a flaw. Pick a fish that the fish you already have's flaw. Say you have a male with a great body, great color, scaling, but his fins just aren't as long as you would like. Pick a female with, again, you should look for a nice body, all those things, but if she's lacking in the body department and the male has a nice body and she has fins, you will get some fish from that spawn that are a nice balance of the two. You can then take those fish to use them to continue working towards a balanced line. So look for traits that compensate for what the other one is lacking. Is that a good way to word it?
I think that was a much better way to word it than I did. Much better. Maybe so. I just lost my words there for a minute. But exactly what she said. No fish is perfect. Balance out the flaws and the strengths. And I think that's great. I think that's great. Maybe I'm going to see if I can find an example in my little photo library I have here. I don't think I'll be able to because I don't have that many pictures. Nope, I can't. Never mind. But Melanie Gaming says, Simply Betta, I got a question. Ask your question. We'd love to answer it, especially if it has to do with form. Sugar Glider, if there was saltwater bettas, would you get some? Yeah, I'd totally get some. I think there's a lot of beautiful saltwater fish who are so colorful and amazing. Bettas are like the freshwater saltwater fish.
I'm actually interested to get into saltwater one day because I'm completely fascinated with some of the symbiotic relationships you can get, like carpeting anemone and sexy shrimp, they're called. They're adorable little shrimp. And,
yeah.
Like clownfish and actual anemone, gobies and pistol shrimp. I think some of those like little teamed up oddball animal pairs are pretty cool, and they make me want saltwater.
Neat. I think it'd be fun to try saltwater, but I'm just a little bit of a chicken and it seems intimidating, even though it's really not. Or it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be intimidating. At least that's what all the saltwater people say. They say, oh, it's so easy, it's really so simple, but I gotta say, it's a little scary. I know if Bob's talking, he's thinking about setting up a saltwater tank, and I know Corey from Aquarium Co-op is going to start playing with saltwater, so I'm really interested to watch. I'm interested to watch it and see how it goes.
It scares me. Daunting.
Yeah, absolutely daunting.
I know Bettas. They're not that complicated.
Yes. Flynn's Fish Forum says, what's the most stubborn disease that's infected your bettas? Most stubborn disease.
Gill flukes.
Ooh, flukes.
I had an issue with gill flukes in a 7-week-old spawn and all of my adults like 10, 11 years ago, and it was bad. It was really bad. I think I ended up saving like maybe 3 or 4 from a spawn of 140.
Oh man, wow.
Yeah. But I have been very, very fortunate. in my fisherman as far as diseases. I see all these catastrophes happen to other fishermen on YouTube, and it just well,
yeah, like Moon River Bettas and Solid Gold.
Yeah,
it's horrible, horrible stuff.
It's painful to watch.
I know, because I can empathize. Ugh, so much work, and it's just going down the toilet.
Kind of like earlier tonight, I had one fish die, and it was, I'm so frustrated.
Oh.
It was my favorite out of my current spawn, and he choked on a piece of the beef heart.
Oh, really?
A normal size piece that should have been fine. I fed everyone, and I didn't think to check, because normally, you feed them and they're good. I've never had this happen ever.
Oh, wow.
But of course, my favorite of the spawn, I go and find him, just gills out, chunks stuck in his mouth.
Oh, poor little guy.
Trying to calm me down. I'm crying in the corner.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amber. Jeez.
I mean, now I know. I've never had a problem with frozen beef heart before, but now I know. But yeah, I can't imagine my whole fish.
Crazy story just from a few days ago. I almost had a grindleworm, I think, kill one of my big fry because it got into its gill, and it was actually hooked in and wriggling around, and the fish couldn't swim, and I saw it. And I plucked that little fry out, and I got my tweezers, and I pulled the grindleworm out of its gills, and I think I saved it. I've never had that happen before. It really freaked me out. Poor little guy.
That is terrifying.
But as for me, most stubborn disease, I had a giant female who had a bacterial infection, which I treated, and it wasn't working, so I treated for a fungus, and I tried dual treatments, and nothing was working, and I just tried and tried and tried so many things, and I couldn't save the fish, and that's probably over a few weeks. I tried to come back, I would try again, I'd try to come back, and that was probably the most persistent weird thing I've happened, just to one fish, not to my whole room like some poor people have been having.
I mean, you just lost all those spawns when you went on vacation,
Oh.
though. That
was just an accident.
I know, but that sucks so bad.
I
felt so bad when you emailed me.
Oh, I was really sad about it, but I understood that it was just an easy mistake. I wasn't mad about it for the person who was watching my fish. I chalked it up to really easy mistake. Try not to focus on it.
We do have one comment. Jackie Amina Abdul Kabir. Sorry again if I butchered that one too. I have a veiltail with good form but terrible rays. If breeding him with a female that has awesome form and perfect rays, I'm hoping that helps and even it out. One thing to keep in mind with veiltails, that is dominant. You are going to get all veiltails, and it can be very hard to find homes for veiltails.
That's true.
Just my opinion.
What if you had a really, really good veiltail? Like, really good.
Really good one. I'm noticing some breeders that I respect are starting to play around with them. Mm-hmm. I would go for it, but I still would question how difficult it would be to rehome the fry. I mean, selling them at that point, I don't even know that selling them would be an option. I think you would have to just pay for shipping. Here's fish or something. Personally, I don't know, but
I think placots or half-moon placots are already hard enough to sell in the U.S. Veiltails, I think, are way harder because it's perceived as common. Tamara Simpson says, have you ever tried killifish? I've never tried killifish. And I have a pair of bettas I bred myself, but the female has a slightly shorter ventral fin. Is it still okay to breed a female with a slightly short ventral fin?
I would say so. I would say that's something, though, you definitely want to make sure the male has good ventral fins.
Yeah, you balance. Balance the fish. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm looking at... Ooh, Lauren says, what would you use to get a betta eating again? Amber mentioned garlic earlier. It's an attractant. It's supposed to stimulate fish's appetite. Like if you have a pellet or a bloodworm, maybe just rub a piece of get some garlic juice on there. See if he'll eat it. Let's see.
Someone's asking, what do you get when you breed a placot male and a veiltail female? Veiltails.
Veiltail is dominant. In the first generation, you will get all veiltails.
Yep.
But then if you took those two offspring and you bred them together, then you might be getting a mix of veiltails and placottes.
But I've seen like the F1s and the F2s of those, and some of the combinations of veiltail and placotte can look very interesting.
Oh, really?
So, yeah.
I don't have a lot of experience.
They're different caudal shape.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? Veiltail is a totally different shaped caudal than the placotte, which is a nice D shape if you have a good one.
So would you get like spade tails kind of out of it?
Yeah,
kind of mix?
I've seen some that were like weirdly cubey. Some that are like a weird, funky looking spade tail, like a really crappy spade tail. You get some very interesting things.
Now, I thought of another thing to add to this live stream, all these points about looking for what fish to start with, what fish to breed. Personal goals. Personal goals. What, as Cutesy Fruits just brought it up, which reminded me, what do you want to strive for? Like, what's your goal? That should help you determine what fish you want. Like, for example, do I want half-moon placottes with really nice D-shaped caudals? Do I want pink fish? Do I want to try to breed towards pink fish or beautiful solid blues? Or I think it's important to have a game plan in your head and a focus on what you want to do, what your goals are, so that way you can go towards those goals and not just kind of start willy-nilly. What do you think?
I would completely agree with that, and I would also add that the first thing, your very first goal in breeding bettas, should be to produce healthy, viable fish. That should come before producing, I want the flowiest, most big fin. The first thing should be fish that can function and swim properly. That should be, like, in my opinion, the most important thing, because fish have to swim.
Yes.
It's some fish, the fins are so much, some half-moons have so much finnage, they can't even wrap a female. It's just not happening with that much finnage, so...
Right.
Fish need to be able to fish.
Yep.
It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's a really good point to kind of tie everything together, especially what we were talking about at the beginning about the tail types and rosetails and feathertails and why they're detrimental. Because fish have to be fish, they have to be able to do fish things, and having too big of finnage can prevent that. Cool.
I think another thing to keep in mind, especially when wanting to work on building a line and not just breeding bettas, is at the end of it, what are you looking to achieve? Because each and every spawn needs to be thought out as to what you're pairing to either eliminate traits or bring them out in your line. Because the more you breed fish for a specific color that are carrying that color, the more likely you are to get that color as you continue breeding. So you need to think about what you're working on and working towards.
All right. I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah. We also have somewhere we had a question about what to do when the male keeps eating the eggs. I did want to touch on some males up until 3-4 spawns will eat the eggs. It's part of the learning curve for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Some males will continue doing it, but
turds.
I don't know if you...
Oh, not really. It's just sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. I haven't really noticed a consistent pattern. Like sometimes my first time dads have been great, and then all of a sudden on their third spawn, they'll eat all the eggs. And
really?
Yeah, I've had some weird things happen like that, so I don't have a very consistent pattern of why they eat the eggs.
You have some funky fish.
I do. I have some...
You have a pellet eater? Just...
Yeah, he's weird. He's a weirdo.
Experienced dads eating eggs.
Yeah.
Fathers. You have the fish room of the future.
I have an interesting fish room. A lot of personalities in there. Cutesy Fruits says, when breeding bettas, do you want to strive towards larger fish in the strain? I would say bigger is usually better. I mean, even when judging shows, if two fish are the exact same, perfect points, the exact same two fish, the one that's slightly bigger will win.
But you want to make sure that its fins aren't too small, because that's just... Have you ever seen those where it's the fish?
I have.
The pots with the giant body and the tiny fins?
Yeah, what? They look pretty silly. But I think bigger is better, personally, when it comes to the body. But again, it has to be in balance. There's a balance.
think that's the main thing with bettas is balance, balance, balance. Because nowadays we just see so many big fins that people need to rethink what's attractive in a betta. It shouldn't be the biggest, flowiest fins. It should be, you know, a really sassy, aggressive fish that can kind of just zoom through the water and do its thing.
Yeah,
because
totally.
That's what they are.
Tamara says, hints on getting a Daphnia culture going. I'm experimenting with this right now. I got a Daphnia culture from Aquarimax. And I might be doing a video on it if I can get a stable population going. When you breed your bettas, do you sell your bettas after? I sell them to a local pet store, and I'll probably be offering my best fish, not to the pet store, but to people online and other hobbyists. Not yet, but pretty soon. Amber, where do you sell your fish?
I typically sell them to private owners. I work with a couple pet shops in the city when people are looking for something a little more interesting, because right now I have crown-tailed placots, which you can't really find in the pet shop, or even on
sweet.
eBay right now. I haven't seen any in a while, so I'm fairly lucky in that I'm breeding something that's a little bit different. I think you'll find that with your giants, especially, that those are going to be very easy to find homes for.
Right, I think so. I hope I get some nice ones. I hope so.
Yeah.
Is there...
And like I was saying, I don't do this for profit. I do this for fun. But you need to remember, at the end of the day, you're going to have a ton of fish that need homes.
Yeah.
So you want them to be something that people want to get.
Yeah, nice fish. Is there such thing as a pure black betta? Yep, they're out there. Okay, more questions. We've gone quite a while. It's been almost 2 hours? What? Of course, we were having technical difficulty at the beginning, so maybe subtract some of that time. We're making up for it. But I
think my blood pressure is finally down. I could tell you were a mom by how just like upbeat and calm you were. Like, yeah, this kind of sucks, but we're working with it.
Just go with the flow. That's my motto. So I figure we can wrap it up by answering a few more questions. Like, if you have any questions, if anybody in the chat has questions, be sure to put them on. We'll try to answer them real fast as best we can. Dean H. just gave a super chat. Oh, congratulations on your first live stream. Thank you, Dean H. I appreciate it. Dean's fun.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. This was a blast. I was pretty nervous about it to begin with, but I guess it's really not all that big of a deal.
It really helped to have a friend to help run it.
Yes, it helps to be
doing it alone.
Yeah, I think it helped to have another person. Looking at the question.
Yeah, but I know about my audio. It's something I definitely need to work on. Sorry about that, guy.
It might also be on my end because technically I'm broadcasting everything from my setup. So that's something I'll look into too about the audio. Just chalk that up to being a first time audio. Yeah, audio is weird. People are agreeing.
Someone said, so if you breed towards your goal, what does one do with all the bettas that you don't use for breeding? Find them homes. Aquabid, eBay, local pet shops, even just talking to people, you know, hey, do you want a betta?
Yeah, I think so too.
It's definitely not something you get into to make money off of it, to make a business out of it.
No way.
The amount of work involved, if you're going to do it on a larger scale, full time, because that's the amount of time you would need for water changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's tough to make a profit from it, just from all the work you have to do.
It's so worth it, though. Oh, one thing to touch on, too, with pairs, because we forgot this. Keep in mind they need to be able to wrap. So if that female her body is much too, if it's way too long compared to the male, if it's really fat, he's not going to be able to wrap around that female, and you're not going to get any fertilized eggs, because they need to get a close wrap in order for the milk to fertilize the eggs.
Yes.
So that's one thing that I think we forgot.
Right. Okay, yeah, and size, too. If your male is way bigger than your female, the female might just slip right through the wrap. And if your female's way too big compared to the male, he might not be able to, go all the way around. He won't be able to do the job.
I've seen that a few times with the male that was too big, and the female's just left at the top watching him sink, wrapped around nothing.
Oh, I caught that on camera on one of my last videos of the giant spawning. Yeah, he was just like, boop.
It's so funny to watch because they almost look incredulous. Like, what are you doing?
That's funny. And again, thanks Dean H for the super chat. That's real sweet. Dean's been with me since the beginning, pretty much. He's a pretty big fish fan person. Cutes Fruits, thank you. You are welcome. Sharon, what do you feed your fry? Live foods. Definitely live foods.
It depends on the age.
And yeah, it's true.
Vinegar eels, banana worms, grindle worms, microworms, Walter worms, baby brine shrimp.
Yes.
And then you go from, because typically Betta fry, something people need to keep in mind, because I see so many people saying, can I feed my fry crushed pellets? Can I feed them powder food? You can try. I've had almost no success with dried foods before the age of 6 weeks. Their natural instinct is, if it wiggles, I eat it. If it doesn't, I shouldn't eat it. That's just...
All right. Yep, true. Let's see. Where can I...
You're like the queen of live food, by the way. Well, you're talking about Daphnia. You have this grindle worm culture. You're doing...
Oh, yeah.
Is it soldier fly?
I have black soldier fly, super worms, grindle worms, black worms, aquatic black worms. I have... what else? Daphnia. I have just so much. I have a big collection of live foods for all my animals.
I don't have space for anything. Literally my dining room / my living room. That's why we're Big City Bettas, because
that's true.
It's all run out of one room.
I have a garage I can stick all my bugs in, which is kind of nice. Any more quick...
Jealous of the fish room, I swear.
I love my bathroom fish room. It's so much fun. And because it's getting kind of late, we're going to wrap this up. How about just a few more questions, Amber? Because it's getting late for her. Let's see. How old is too old for breeding bettas? What do you think?
As long as they'll keep successfully spawning, I keep breeding them.
Alright.
I've never bred anything past 22 months, I think, was the oldest successful spawn I've had out of a male, with females 26 months. How about you?
Oh gosh, with a bunch of my females, I don't know how old they are because I imported them, so it's really hard for me to say. I'm not working with females who are like 5 years old who I've had since they were fry. So I can't answer that question very well. Carl Mello says, my voice is hilarious. Thanks. I know I have a tiny little voice, but that is why I'm a cartoon character. I do voice acting. I know. I do voice acting with my tiny little Disney princess voice. I get a lot of comments about it. Okay, let's see. How to tell when your female's ready to breed. Moon River Bettis has a pretty good video all about it. I'd recommend checking it out, and she can show an example. Just because I'm trying to end it a little bit. I wish pet stores would carry more live foods for fish. Yeah, me too. That'd be fun. They have a lot of frozen foods. Some of them do. Let's see. Well, I think we should wrap it up. What do you think, Amber?
Yeah.
Okay.
This was really fun.
This was a blast, even with all the technical difficulties. Everyone who stayed with us is very sweet for staying with us. Big City Bettas has her own channel, which once this video ends, I'm going to link it down in the description. I'd recommend following her. All of her stuff's very educational, and she's pretty new. Oh, of course, she's pretty new. She has a bunch of videos, but go ahead and follow her. I totally recommend it.
I also want to say real quick, a big thank you again to Steenfot Aquatics.
Yay!
Bob, who just has been awesome modding this whole thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Bob. We really appreciate it.
Yes, and everybody who's stuck around, thank you so much for sticking around.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And sorry about the beginning and...
They'll deal with it.
God.
Okay, cool. Well, now I have to figure out how to end a live stream. Remember, it took me a while to figure out how to begin it. I was here for like 5 minutes trying to find the start button. But I will end it somehow. And hopefully we'll do another live stream in the future. Maybe talking about another subject, like the next thing to look for.
I would love that. And we have to plan ahead, because then I can, like, mail you some kind of baked good. And we can just do, like, a beta chat and baked goods.
All right.
Or something.
All right, that sounds good. We could each have a glass of wine and the same batch of cookies. But tie it together really nice.
Sounds like a date to me.
Yeah. Okay, everybody have a great night. Thanks for stopping by, and have a nice weekend. And we'll see you all later.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out too. We'll find out in the comments in a second. I think that went well. That was really fun.